Hi, everyone. My name is Anne, and I'm the host of Taking Questions on behalf of Women-S. And today I am thrilled to be talking with Dr. Susan Hardwick Smith, who is a board-certified gynecologist and a certified menopause practitioner specializing in women's midlife wellness, hormone optimization, and sexual wellness. She's the founder of the Complete Midlife Wellness Center in Houston, Texas, and she's the best-selling author of Sexually Woke: Awaken Secrets to Your Best Sex Life in Midlife and Beyond. In addition to all of this, she hosts the popular podcast, Empowering Midlife Wellness. Thank you so much for joining me, Dr. Susan.
Well, I'm so glad to be here and such exciting topics to talk about. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, thank you. We love the sense of menopositivity that you weave into all of your content. Can you tell us some of the reasons that women can actually look forward to menopause and look forward to this time in their life?
Oh, absolutely. And, I'm 55. I never thought I would look forward to menopause. When I was younger, I have teenage girls, I thought 50 was elderly, but it's so far from the truth. I'm now stepping into my 50s, and I can truly tell you, I feel better than I felt when I was 20, 30, or any other age. And that's not something that should be available just to special people. It's really available to anyone. Some of the obvious things to look forward to is we don't have to have periods. We can't get pregnant. And then we've got some wisdom. Looking at my young adult children, they might have a lot of things going for them. They don't have cellulite. They've got beautiful bodies, but they don't know very much. And so now we've got an opportunity to approach life with hopefully quite a bit of wisdom that we've picked up along the years. And we can explore sexuality and intimate relationships with a sense of openness and not worrying about those things like, am I going to get pregnant, or I'm on my period, or all that, or when we have little kids, or the kids are going to walk in the door. I mean, so many things become more free and open if we can approach it from that mindset. So I think menopause is the best time yet. I really do.
Right. I think for me personally, it is. I'm 52 years old. I'm about to turn 53. I'm recently divorced. I am so much more confident than I was in my 20s and in my 30s. I don't have to worry about raising children now. My children too are older, late teenagers and early 20s. My career, I've done everything that I've wanted to do in my career. I have my friends. Now I can travel. I'm not afraid to travel by myself. I actually prefer traveling by myself. I don't have
So
to
many
prove
things.
anything to anybody anymore. It's just me, and it's what I want to do.
Right. I think that that's such a beautiful way to look at things. And I want to be careful not to confuse that with this sort of toxic positivity that some people put on things. Well, everything's great and wonderful. And there's a lot of things that are great and wonderful. And there's also struggles and things that we need to accept as well. But I think just allowing our mindsets to not believe this cultural idea that turning 50 or ending fertility is the end of anything. It's the start of a new chapter. And there's a lot of things in my youth I look back at with joy and I remember them joyfully, but I sure as heck don't want to go back there. I don't want to have 3-year-olds
Sure.
anymore. They were cute as anything. But just accepting that there were amazing things in the past and looking at those pictures and those memories with love, and then looking at the second half of life with an equally optimistic attitude. I remember looking forward to getting married. And then when I was pregnant, looking forward to having a baby. It felt so exciting and open. There's no reason why this can't be the same, right? It's
Right.
another exciting, open opportunity to try new things. And when we look at menopause in the second half of life that way, I certainly saw for myself and for my patients that their whole attitude to everything changes. So it's
Right.
really a
Right.
mindset shift, I think, just not believing what culture teaches us.
Correct, because you're right. There's so many things that she is up against, right? So we're not trying to say this is a false sense of optimism, because there's the night sweats, the weight gain, the changes in your skin, the hormone changes, the brain fog. I mean, that is real.
There are
The
tough parts, yeah.
anxiety, the depression, all of that. And it's wonderful that there are practitioners out there like you that genuinely want to help women to find the solutions for all of their symptoms and everything that they're going through, so that they genuinely can take advantage of all of these things that we're talking about and having a much better, fulfilling second half of life. I love
Yes,
that
I
when I
love the way
was,
you put that. I could say it's a yes and thing. There's all of the symptoms of menopause, and you mentioned some of them, and they're certainly difficult and absolutely treatable. And then there's the reality that it's just a really interesting time of life, isn't it? I can't think of a better
right,
word that isn't a four-letter word. You've got parents that are getting sick and dying. We've got kids
right,
that are leaving home. Maybe our marriages are ending. It's the most common time to get divorced. I also got divorced in my mid 40s. Our jobs might have reached their peak, or maybe we're thinking about taking on a whole second career. All these things are happening. Throw on top of that COVID and economy. It's a lot happening, right? And it can
right.
feel overwhelmingly negative, but there's another side to it as well. So not to negate the fact that there's difficulties, but also to put both in perspective. It's like, just keeping both balanced.
Right. And it's scary. It's a scary time to be out there if you are divorced or widowed or find
Mhm.
yourself single at this time to go back into that dating pool. It is a very, very different world. And then sexually speaking, we'll talk about your book in a minute,
Mhm.
having that confidence, which is a very, very different set of confidence skills to go back into the bedroom when you're in 45, 55, 65.
Oh, absolutely. And this could be a whole nother talk, but yes, let's talk about that for a second.
Right.
As you mentioned, we share this with many women entering new relationships when we're, in midlife. It's scary. You've been with one person for 18, 25 years. I can tell you there are still good guys out there. I've been with my partner for 3 years and truly did find the love of my life after an 18-year unhappy marriage. So just don't give up on that possibility if that
Mhm.
is something that you're facing. you know all of these things are possible if we keep our minds open to possibility. When we shut down to the possibility, I'm too old to meet somebody new, I'm too old to lose weight, I'm not attractive anymore, all of these limiting beliefs that we tell ourselves, that will create our reality. And
Mhm.
there is another side to it, there really is. So I hope your listeners can stay or get into that mindset, because there's so much more to the second half of life.
Well, let's talk about the book then, Sexually Woke, and having that best sex life in your 45, when you're
Mhm.
45, 65 and beyond, because so many people are skeptical about having that great sex life later in life. Can you share a few secrets from your book that you've discovered, so that women can have this vibrant, connected sex life, midlife and even beyond?
Well, I can tell you, I would never have thought this was possible. A little bit about my sex life. When I was in my 20s, I had a lot of sex, but it wasn't very interesting. I wasn't educated about sex. I didn't know very much. And then it went into baby making sex when I got
Mhm.
married, which was vaginal intercourse, pretty bland, just trying to get the
Sure.
job done. There wasn't much imagination or fun going on. Moving into having small children, you've got 5 minutes, it's not, you know, we're not on vacation
Sure.
spending 2 hours, making love or anything like that. So just remembering what those times were like. Now we're in this time of life where, as you mentioned, we've potentially got time. We
Mhm.
potentially know ourselves a little bit better. We don't have kids that are drawing us, hopefully, to have sex for 5 minutes. Maybe we've got a partner who really wants to sit and listen. All of these things are possible. So, in the book, I interviewed many, many women, over 1,000 women aged 45 to 65. Not that it ends at 65, just we had to put some parameters around the
Mhm.
study. What I was looking for, because at the time I was not sexually woke, I wanted to know what these women had so that I could learn it myself. So the interviews were really kind of self-centered, honestly. I wanted to know what they had so I could get it for me.
Right.
What I found was that only 7%, now I don't want you to feel negative about that, but 7% of women that I interviewed were in this group that I labeled as sexually woke, because they really felt like they had a great relationship with sex and all the things that we're talking about. Now, 93 didn't, but doesn't mean that they couldn't learn these things. So
Mhm.
the secrets, so to speak, were not really secrets. When I looked at the 7% of women who had developed this really healthy relationship with sex and truly said sex was better than ever in this midlife age group, I could have found 12 things that they had in common, but tried to narrow it down to 3. Now, interestingly, none of them were hormonal or medical
Oh,
issues. They all were psychological, more spiritual things that they shared in common. And just going through each of them briefly, Yeah, the first one was that they saw the second half of life the way we were describing, with a sense of openness and optimism. They used very similar metaphors. It was interesting, like coming out of a shell, or opening a prison door, or letting myself out, or coming out, or these different metaphors that indicated just this stepping into an open, playful field, rather than the cultural idea of, oh, like withering and dying. So just the way they spoke was very much in line with what we were talking about, just the sense of optimism and openness. So being open to possibility was the first secret. It's not a secret, but isn't that amazing to have that
That is
mindset?
amazing. Yeah.
The second thing that they shared was that they really had a deep level of self-awareness. They had basically just given up being resentful. They'd forgiven everybody for past things. They just moved into the present, given up the past, know themselves both mentally and physically. And part of knowing yourself is knowing what you like sexually. So they experimented a lot with self-pleasure. They knew how to communicate that to a partner. And I love this one idea that I always go back to myself, that I cannot really be 100% present in an intimate relationship if I don't know who's here. And one of my interviewees said that to me, and I just thought that was so mathematically correct. Like, how can I be present if I don't know who's here? Like, the typical, I had this, a very joke about the menopausal woman having sex is looking at the ceiling, wondering if it needs to get repainted, or could you move your head to the side so I could see the television? I mean, we joke about these things, but they're very real, and many of us have experienced them, just that lack of presence, because we're not really all there. So a lot of that comes from just knowing ourselves. And the third secret was that each of them approached their relationships with a real intentionality. We don't develop great relationships by accident. When I was young, I thought you just became wise by getting older. And we know that's not true. I mean, lots of us know plenty of old people who don't have much wisdom. The intentionality could be something really small. Like, one of my favorite ones was just making a ritual around saying hello and goodbye. Like, every time your partner leaves, say, have a great day, sweetheart. I love you. Pat him on the head, or if it's a male, give him a squeeze his bottom, something like that. I love you. Have a great day. I can't wait to see you. It takes 10 seconds. The same when they come home, or when you come home. Just a 10-second moment of connection. Hey, it's great to see you, my sexy man. I love you. Wow, you look great today. Before you launch into, did you take out the trash? And did we pay the bill yet for the insurance? And I'm talking about myself and my first marriage.
Sure.
We didn't have intentionality around anything. I mean, I had an idea when I got married in my 20s that relationships just happened spontaneously. Well, they don't. So another fun thing from the book was one of the sexually woke said, find out the 5 things that your partner loves the most and do them. And which was so simple. Hers were, he really likes this special kind of bacon, so I buy it for him every Friday. He really loves this kind of espresso, so I make sure that I make it for him on Sunday morning. I mean, it's just simple things. And those of us who are feminists like me might think, why are we making bacon and coffee for our partners? But these are sweet, loving acts of kindness.
Right.
And
as long as it goes both ways.
Right. And they're free.
That's a relationship, right?
Right. It's not expensive, or it doesn't, it takes 2 minutes. It takes so little. And that small amount of generosity and intentionality just really keeps a relationship alive. So I thought that was so sweet. So I've put all those things into practice now in my own life. So the point of that being, it's teachable. Like, if you do these things, you can have success as well. And coming from a place where I wasn't in that place whatsoever, it's just been completely different, making these small changes. I'm happier. Everybody's happier.
Right. And they're easy to do. They're actionable. They're easy to do. And it also puts you in the mindset. Like you said, you have to be in the mindset. You can't just be staring at the ceiling, waiting for something to happen. Right. It makes you an active participant.
That's right. Yeah.
Which is wonderful. Yeah. What we find at Women-S, we have so many women who are wanting to be on this sexually woke journey, but the problems that they're having then become physical, like they have a dry vagina and they have painful intercourse, and they're looking for solutions for that. And it's hard for them to overcome that. Do you have any recommendations for women who are suffering from this?
Yeah, so we can talk all day, right, about the psychological aspects of sexual wellness, and there are many. But if we've got dryness and pain with intercourse, no one's going to want to participate in something that hurts. So I'm a menopause specialist. I take hormone replacement myself. For most of my patients, that's a recommendation. So I know that's not for everybody, and there's some lovely products out there to help with dryness, and Woman S has a bunch of them. So luckily we live in this age where there are so many tools to help keep our vagina healthy, but it's critical not only to have a healthy mind, as we were discussing, but also to have healthy anatomy. So we have so much fun in my office, not only with hormone replacement, but with other beautiful products like yours, things like the O shot, which is using platelet rich plasma or stem cells to keep the clitoris healthy, vaginal laser. I mean, you don't have to suffer with that anymore. It's completely curable. But I think healthy sexuality, well, I know healthy sexuality in the menopausal age range is kind of the ultimate mind body experience. We need to have a healthy mindset, which is what the book spoke to. And we've also got to have healthy anatomy, both and, right? Nothing works without both.
Right, that's right. You conducted a landmark 2018-2019 study that you called the Menopause and Relationship Study. What were the most impactful things that you learned from this research?
Well, the study is what led to the book. And so I think I was in a very bad place when I was writing this book. As I mentioned, I was trying to find help for myself. I had just become divorced. I was going through menopause. I was watching my patients struggle with losing their libido, and I had lost mine, was like below zero. And then occasionally I would see a woman come in who had a completely different attitude. She would bounce in telling me about her amazing sex life and all the fun things they did on vacation. And I would think, I want what you have. And so the study actually was set up to try to find those people, which I did, and find out what they had. And so the surprising things I found were actually what we already talked about, were that sexuality, this beautiful relationship they had with sex, wasn't so much about taking a pill or a magic bullet or a particular vibrator. It was really about changing mindset in the ways that I described, which as a traditional physician was very surprising. Like I wanted to know, what pill do you take? Or, I was trained to, fix it, drug it, numb it, that was my traditional medical training. But this whole inquiry into changing mindset was so, what a gift. I mean, I'm so glad that I was able to reach those women and have them teach me.
Right.
And in teaching me, I actually retired from my traditional practice, opened the practice that I have now, and then I'm able to offer this to other women. So it's been an amazing journey of self-learning and now being able to give that back to others.
So I love the way that you set up your practice, because we have so many women who complain about going in to see a doctor, not getting in the answers. They come in 15 minutes, they try and diagnose you. They don't tell you what the hell is going on. There's so many different symptoms in menopause. And the way that you speak to your patients, and you have the annual wellness experience when they come in to see you once a year. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, so working in traditional medicine for many years, and it was a wonderful time. I delivered babies, I did hysterectomies, all of the things that your traditional doctor does who takes insurance. I would schedule 5 patients in an hour. Not criticizing that time in life at all. It was a wonderful time, but in this time of life, we need more time, to get into questions like, tell me about your sexual experiences. Tell me about your relationships. How do you feel about your weight? How are your spiritual practices? How is your sleep? Let's look at your nutrition and your exercise program. How are you feeling about the kids leaving? What's going on with this job changing? Are you feeling good about that or not? I mean, this isn't something you can get into in 15 minutes. I mean, gynecologists are taught that we focus on just between the belly button and the vagina, but focusing on the whole person. We're a whole person. So my visits, and again, it's not something that everybody has access to, and I wish that it were, but it takes an hour or more, sometimes 90 minutes, to really address all of these issues, the hormonal issues, psychological, spiritual issues, and then really create a plan that's unique for each person, because we're similar in many ways, but we're also very different. I like to check hormones. I do a big panel of not only hormones, but just general wellness blood work. So, that's something that's nice for those who are very privileged. I know not everyone has access to it. Just a quick word, what I love now, for those who don't have access to something like that, there are online resources now for women to get hormone replacement. And again, it's not, and a 1 hour consult would be great, but at least we can go to places like Allure and others to, get relief from menopausal symptoms. So it will get better with time. But hopefully there'll be more physicians who, through going through menopause, so look for a woman who's menopausal age, that might be helpful.
Right.
Through going through it themselves, have learned how important it is to
Right.
just take more time and address all of these issues, because it does feel very dismissive to be told, oh, well, your pap smear, mammogram, how are the kids, and see you next year.
Right.
Okay, I didn't get to tell you anything about the 100 things on my list. Eventually many of us just give up and stop going back to the doctor because we're not getting what we need, and that's really sad.
And that's more discouraging and causes more depression.
So discouraging, right?
And I mean, it would take me, I think, at least 2 hours to go through all of the symptoms that I have. And I have so many questions. I work with a group of women who talk to women who are in menopause all day long. And we don't even have all of the answers. We're all just trying to help one another. We're all in this together and get answers. I do love, I love what you said before, and I'm going to put the information below for everybody if they don't have access and have questions, especially about hormone therapy and some of the other things we talked about. I will put in the links below so people can look at that at their leisure. Can you tell me a little bit about, I was looking on your site, and like I said, there's so many things that even I don't know, or options that are in treatments that are out there for women. What are bioidentical hormones? And then what are the hormone pellets?
So the very brief overview is that when we were 12, or when we went through puberty, we started making 3 hormones from our ovaries: estradiol, progesterone, and testosterone. And they went up and down and without cycles, but they were always present. And then at some point we stopped making them, and that's menopause. And of course there's a lot in between, but when we're postmenopausal like me, my estradiol would be 0, progesterone would be 0, and my testosterone was also 0. So I lost all 3 of those hormones. So bioidentical hormone replacement is replacing those 3 hormones with hormones that are biologically identical to the ones that we made in our own body. So they are exactly those: estradiol, progesterone, and testosterone, not Premarin, Provera, and testosterone cyprinate, or something that isn't biologically identical. So there are chemicals that are made to look similar to human hormones, but they're not biologically identical, and they're not as safe, and they don't work as well. So that's where the term bioidentical came from. So bioidentical hormones are plant-based. That means they come from a plant source. They are synthesized in the lab to look identical to human hormones. So in that way, they're synthetic. People get those terms all confused, but the end point is they look identical to human hormones. So on to hormone pellets, that's something that I have chosen to use myself, and many of my patients do as well. You can get bioidentical estradiol and testosterone in a little pellets, so like the size of a grain of rice, that can be put under your skin through a 2-millimeter little poke in the skin. Doesn't hurt. And that delivers those hormones in a very even state for about 3 months. So that's an option that some people choose. You could also use a cream or a patch. You just don't want to take it by mouth. So there's so much knowledge that's expanded in the world of hormone replacement in the past 20 years, since we were scared by that awful Women's Health Initiative study. We don't have to worry about those things anymore. There are safe ways to take hormones that are not only safe, but actually improve our lifespan and quality of life, not only sexually, but reducing osteoporosis, Alzheimer's, heart disease, colon cancer, all kinds of things. So I would not feel this way if I were not taking my bioidentical hormones. I can tell you that much.
Well, what is amazing, and this is, every single woman goes through menopause, right? If she lives this long, she's going to go through menopause. Yet every single woman's journey is different.
That's right.
What she needs, the symptoms she's experiencing, all of it. It's very, very individual, and it's so important to be talking to somebody like you who can help her get the solutions that she needs. And there's also this sense of community. We're all now talking about it. It's not such a taboo subject anymore. Sexual wellness is not the taboo subject. Menopause is not the taboo subject. And I love that you do this retreat. You have a retreat coming up at Miraval, which just sounds fantastic. If you could let everybody know about that.
So this is so much fun. So just coming back to this idea about the sense of community, one of the things I picked up on that you said is that you work with a group of women who are experts in women's wellness, and I do too. But we're by no means done with learning. I mentioned that I learned everything I know now from doing interviews with my patients. I literally learned from my patients to know what I know now, and I continue to learn. So when we put a group of women together who are in a similar age group, it's just magic happens when we share our stories, what worked for us, what didn't. I mean, it completely dispels this feeling if there's something wrong with me, I'm the only one. I had that. I mean, when I was 45, I thought something is definitely wrong with me. I must be the only one who feels like that, because we weren't talking about it. So this retreat was set up. I'll tell you a little bit about the logistics. It's May 5th through the 8th. At Miraval Resort in Austin. If you guys know that brand, it's like super luxury and beautiful.
Fabulous.
The weather in May in Texas is fantastic. We have an incredible group of hostesses. I'm just one of them, but the others you'll see below are women that you probably know who are very well known in the midlife wellness field, different angles. I'm the only physician. Well, actually, we have a functional medicine doctor too, who's talking about diet and nutrition. We have a conscious leadership coach, a yoga and meditation instructor, a style expert. I mean, all of these amazing women who are in our age group coming together, not to teach you anything so much as just to learn from each other. So we have a maximum of 30 guests. We have just a few spots left, but I'm sure you'll put the link below so people can choose to sign up. It's just going to be a magical time of learning, sharing our stories. At the end, you'll have 30 new best friends. I can't wait. And we hope to do it regularly. This is going to be so much fun. Womaness is going to be present. Thank you very much. And our gorgeous goodie bag. We've got this amazing goodie bag full of incredible things, including some of my favorite Womaness products.
That's great.
Yeah, I'll just tell you, this one is my
Let's Neck
favorite.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing. I use
That
it
is our
it's
number
called
one
Morpheus
seller.
8. If any of you guys know about Morpheus 8, it's radio frequency skin tightening. I tell them to use this before and after. This is the
What
neck
is
cream.
Morpheus 8? I saw that on the site. Tell me what
It's
that
a
includes.
it's a radio frequency micro needling device for skin tightening. So many of us get that, the little loose skin under the chin. The combination of this and the Morpheus 8, that's what we're using now to treat that. It's amazing. So just fun stuff. I mean, you're beautiful as you are. You don't need to worry about the skin under your neck. But if you want to do something fun, those two things together, amazing.
Right. It's a fun thing to do, and it makes
Why
you
not?
feel good about yourself, right? And just like this Miraval retreat, and even if you don't go to a retreat, surround yourself with people who have this, what we call the menopositivity, right?
That's right.
We're all suffering from all of this stuff. We all love to talk about it. We spend our meetings, the first 15 minutes, talking about what symptoms we have, who slept well, who's sweating, who's doing it. But you find the community, you find your tribe, and you talk about it, and then
that is really that's the key. And you don't have to take hormone replacement. You don't have to do any of these things. But the most important thing, I think, is to not. I hope for everyone that they don't feel alone or that there's something wrong with me just because we're not sharing. And when we do start telling our stories and sharing, it really just dispels that idea that we're alone or something's wrong. And then we can make choices from there, and just staying in that mindset of always learning. Like, I'm always learning. I don't know everything yet. I'm sure next year I'll be telling you something different that I've learned. But, when we put a group of women together with the same type of things happening, it's just magic happens. So I'm so grateful for these type of podcasts that share this information, again, just to dispel that myth that there's something wrong or we're alone, because we're not. It's like, me too. I have that too.
We are in it with you.
Right.
That is it. We are in the boat rowing along with you. I thank you so much for your time. I'm going to post this interview. Of course, it'll be on YouTube. It'll also be here at our after party, and we'll use it throughout our Womeness website and content. I will put all of your information below that we talked about, including the Miraval retreat. And again, it was just wonderful speaking with you, and thank you for everything that you're doing.
Well, it's such a pleasure, and I'm thrilled to be on your tribe and can't wait to talk to you again.